Turn my headphones up. Louder.
What's up? It's Noah Taborda here with Blake Devine on another episode of Blake and Noah, LA to Chicago. And we have, how about our audience? Yeah, our audience is going to give you a taste of how many people we have in the crowd right now. Let's just hear them. Thank you. I know. I see we have a lot of fans. Blake, isn't it great to have this many people live watching it?
Yeah, it's absolutely great to have people cheering on from the background. It gives us a lot of support for our show. And I love the sound effect. Oops, did I reveal something?
No, nobody heard that, hopefully. So yeah, great weekend in sports, great week in sports. Lots of action, obviously. And really quickly, the number to call, 224-563-8444. Again, that's 224-563-8444. Contact us at Twitter, at Blake and Noah. That's at capital BLAKE _and_ Noah NOAH. Or our Facebook page, Blake and Noah, LA to Chicago. Got that all out of the way? And really quickly, we would start with the NFL, but there was some tragic news today in IndyCar. There was a really big car crash that went down. Dario Franchitti, the four-time IndyCar Series champion, was injured at the end of the race. He fractured part of his spine, and 13 people were injured during the race and the accident. So thoughts go out to all of those people injured, Dario Franchitti, all of the fans that were injured. Hopefully they all recuperate and nobody dies from this. So, yeah, so far nobody has died, so that's good.
Yeah, a tragic incident. We'll shout out to them and hope that there's good recoveries for all the people out there. And just tragic news to hear about that, and we'll hope for the best for everyone out there. But to change the topic a little bit to the more brighter side of things, we had a really, really exciting week in sports this week, or this whole week, and especially this weekend. And I'm talking about all the playoff games. We had the divisional series rounds going on the whole weekend. We still have a game right now between the Dodgers and Braves, which we'll definitely get to talk about. We had a game between Pittsburgh and St. Louis today. And just lots of baseball, also college football, a very exciting game. Some top 10 teams in action, and some rankings kind of shifting, and we'll also cover that. And then another very exciting week of NFL football, which will be our lead topic today, right, Noah?
Yes, it will.
Yeah, and with that, we'll go over to the NFL scoreboard. And the most talked about game so far today has been the game between the Denver Broncos and Dallas Cowboys. This game was the fourth highest scoring game ever played in NFL history in the regular season, with the Denver Broncos coming out on top 51-48. And this was just a shootout throughout, like the old Cowboys shootout. This game had the definition of that. Tony Romo threw for 5 touchdowns, while Peyton Manning threw for 4 touchdowns. Although he did throw a pick, but he did run for another touchdown. And this was a really, really exciting game today. And it just went final a few minutes ago, actually. So with this, the Broncos moved to 5-0. The only other, or there's 2 other undefeated teams, so they're the third undefeated team so far. And then the Cowboys fall to 2-3, and they're still tied for that division lead, because we all know that the NFC East division is just not having a good year this year in football. So some other scores. Our Thursday night football game between the Browns and the Buffalo Bills, that game was pretty exciting because it was back and forth throughout, but the biggest news, I would say, was that Brian Hoyer was injured, and he's out for the year from now on. I think it was an ACL tear, if I'm correct. Let me check on that one. But they are going to have to either get Brandon Weeden to start playing, or they're either going to maybe have to pick up Josh Freeman. Who knows? But the big thing about this game was that the Browns were able to pull out the victory here despite losing their quarterback, who has been really revamped, and they ended up pulling out the victory 37-24, moving to 3-2 on the year, while the Bills fell to 2-3. And this is quite interesting because Trent Richardson, ever since he left, the Browns have gone 3-0. And some people thought this was going to be a tank year to get some really good draft picks. So I'm pretty surprised by this. What do you think, Noah?
Well, this is definitely surprising that the Browns have managed to pull it out and been able to win all of these games. This is big news. Me and Jake discussed it on our show. It was really late here after the Northwestern game, but I was wide awake, obviously. That game was quite exhilarating and kept me up. But back to the main topic. There was an article released on NFL.com by an NFL.com insider that said that the Browns will not be pursuing Freeman, and I think it's smart because I don't think they want to invest in a quarterback that they're not sure will be able to lead their team for the future and pay that amount of money. The same thing with the Jaguars. If they weren't to invest in it, then they just get in a bigger mess. Not that anybody really cares about the Jaguars. No offense to all of you Jaguars fans. Actually, the audience I just got by saying Jaguar fans is about 5. So, yeah, but no, I don't think they'll go after Freeman. I think Whedon is the right way to go, and maybe you draft a quarterback, either a Brett Hundley, even though I'd feel bad for him if he went there. Any quarterback really I feel bad for, but definitely stick with what you have right now and don't go spending your money.
Yeah, okay, well, we'll have to continue on with this scoreboard here, but good analysis of the Browns. Very interesting year for this team, to say the least. Another game that was played today was between the New Orleans Saints and the Chicago Bears, and this was played in Chicago. The Saints ended up pulling out the victory 26-18, improving to 5-0 on the year, while the Bears fell to 3-2. And Drew Brees came up big, as well as Jimmy Graham. It seems like consistently this guy is going for at least 100 yards a game receiving, and he went for 135 today and 10 receptions. And then for the Bears, Jay Cutler had a very good game, 358 yards passing, going 24 for 33. And then Alshon Jeffrey had an amazing game receiving with 218 yards receiving and getting 10 catches as well, and then also a touchdown. So Saints, one of the few unbeaten teams left in the NFL right now. And then another game which had a very exciting ending was between the Cincinnati Bengals and the New England Patriots. This game had a giant rainstorm right at the end when Tom Brady and the Patriots were driving down the field trying to tie it up, but Tom Brady ended up throwing an interception, and the Bengals ended up pulling out the victory 13-6 in a kind of defensive battle. And the Patriots got their first loss of the year, falling to 4-1, while the Bengals improved to 3-2. Notable statistics: I would say that Green Ellis, the running back for Cincinnati, had 19 carries for 67 yards and a touchdown, but it was very defensive, so not a lot of offense. And then another game between Noah's home favorite Packers. They defeated the Lions 22-9 at Lambeau Field. So they've been proven to be a very good home team so far this year, but haven't been able to win it on the road. But they improved to 2-2, while the Lions fall to 3-2 on the year. They also got the bye week, those Packers, so maybe that helped them out. And Rodgers went 20 for 30 for 274 yards passing, and he threw a touchdown. And then Eddie Lacy, coming back from injury, had 23 carries for 99 yards. So a good return for him, and the Packers were victorious. Another notable game, the Kansas City Chiefs improved to 5-0 on the year. Very, very good start for Andy Reid in his first year as the Chiefs head football coach. They defeated the Titans 26-17, while the Titans fell to 3-2. This was played in Tennessee, and it was exciting throughout. But Jamal Charles and those Chiefs ended up pulling out the victory here. And then another very notable game between two of the powerhouse teams in our league was the Indianapolis Colts ended up pulling out a 34-28 victory in Indianapolis. And this was a very, very exciting game throughout. Russell Wilson threw for 210 yards and 2 touchdowns on 15 of 31 throwing. Not the greatest completion percentage, but threw for the big yards. Andrew Luck, 16 for 29, 229 yards and 2 touchdowns. So very good numbers for him. And then Trent Richardson also did very good. So the Colts getting a big victory while the Seahawks lose their first game of the year on the road. Other notable games, the Rams defeated the Jaguars 34-20 in a game between two of the weaker teams in this league. Jaguars falling to 0-5 on the year, while the Rams improved to 2-3. The Ravens ended up pulling out a road victory over the Miami Dolphins. Both teams are now 3-2 on the year, and Ravens, they ended up fighting off the Dolphins' comeback attempt to steal a road victory away from the Dolphins. And the Cardinals defeated the Panthers 22-6 to improve to 3-2 on the year, while the Panthers fell to 1-3. And this was kind of the Cardinals' harassing defense got to Cam Newton, and so far they've proven to be pretty good this year, led by Tyrone Matthew along with Patrick Peterson, two former LSU cornerbacks. And then another game to talk about is the game that is going to be played, or is getting played right now actually, between the San Francisco 49ers. Oh, yes? Oh, it's not getting played right now. But it is about to be played in a few minutes, and that will be between the San Francisco 49ers and the Houston Texans, and both teams coming with 2-2 records. They were both preseason kind of Super Bowl favorite teams, and both have proven to show that they have potential to be what they're expected, and being like a Super Bowl team, but sometimes they've been a little disappointed as well. So I'm excited to see who can pull this game out and really get themselves righted up and ready for a very good regular season run. And then another late game will be between the Oakland Raiders and the San Diego Chargers. And this game is getting played at 8:30 West Coast time. Very, very late game because the Oakland Coliseum is kind of getting remodeled and reshuffled for the Raiders game because they played a playoff game last night when the A's defeated the Tigers in a 1-0 walk-off victory. So they didn't have much time to change the stadium up, but that game is getting played at 8:30, and it'll be pretty exciting as well. So, Noah, there's the scoreboard, and what were your impressions from Week 6 of the NFL so far?
Well, let me talk about the late game. The late game. That's getting played at 10:35 here, so they already lost their whole group of people in anywhere from Central to Eastern basically watching the game. That's a 3-hour difference between games. So, I mean, in that way, it does work out well for Pacific time, where you like go over by you, because then you have the game obviously going on at 5:30, and then, of course, you have a game going on at 8:30, so it's not that bad. Meanwhile, here, it's 8:30, and then 7:30, and then 10:30. But I want to start out with the biggest game of the week. You can't talk about this week in the NFL without talking about the Colts defeating the Seahawks. I'm picking that as my best game over the Broncos and the Cowboys, mainly because I think the two teams we're playing were better than them. And the Colts, they were very impressive. Obviously, they played well defensively against a good Seahawks team, held Marshawn Lynch. He was unable to score. So, 100 yards, no touchdowns. I'll consider that a success for that defense. Trent Richardson didn't have his best game. But T.Y. Hilton, I had him on my fantasy bench, so I'm killing myself right now over that. Went for 140 yards and 2 touchdowns. Just a terrific game for him. And the Colts just upstaging a team that I thought was the best. And we'll hear this later on, but they're not my number one team in my rankings anymore. You'll have to see who that is. And the Colts looking really good right now out of those teams.
Yeah, I got to add a quick note. Just realized I forgot to mention the Monday Night Football game, which will be played at 8:30 Eastern Time, 5:30 Pacific Time, and obviously 7:30 Central Time for you Chicago people. This will be a game between a very disappointing Atlanta Falcons team who's 1-3 to start the year. They'll be playing at home, and I mean, if they fail to get this victory over the Jets, who are 2-2, I think their coach is going to be on the hot seat, and this whole team and city around them is going to be really, really disappointed if they lose this game. So just got to add that note right there. But just continue on, Noah, with your analysis from Week 6.
Okay, so let me look at these games. I'm going to have to now go with the Broncos-Cowboys. I couldn't break down this week without talking about it. Obviously, a phenomenal game. And Tony Romo, the first Cowboys player ever, quarterback, I should say, to throw for more than 500 yards. I know, quite impressive. It's pretty impressive, especially for all the criticism that Tony Romo takes for being such a, I don't want to say bad quarterback, but not the quarterback they need. But this game goes for 506 yards, 5 touchdowns. But you know what people are going to remember from this game? Not that he did well. They're going to say, oh, he was bad. You know why? Because he threw an interception at the end of the game that basically gave the Broncos the win. So for all the good that he did, it wasn't enough for them. And then, once again, it just has to be that every fantasy player I have, I trade and then does well. Julius Thomas. I trade him, and he goes for 122 yards and 2 touchdowns. So everybody does good. They don't like to perform with me, but they want to do well when they're not on my team. That's just terrific. On to another game that I thought was good just because it was between the worst teams. Jaguars-Rams. To Jake, who said the Rams were the worst team in the NFL. Ha! The Jaguars are worse. I was right. And now the Jaguars are 0-5. And Blaine Gabbert, in case you were wondering, is still bad. Still very bad. And Blake, I'd like to go on a topic where I'd like your opinion on this. The Eagles-Giants. Your Eagles are now tied for the lead. Of course, in that bad, to say the least, NFC East. Again, they won this week against the Giants.
To say the least with that division. I mean, you look at it right now, top to bottom, and it is one of the worst divisions I have ever seen to start the year. We played. I keep on messing up today. I said week 6. It is week 5. Got to correct myself on that one. So through 5 games so far, you look at this division. At the bottom, you have the New York Giants at 0-5. Eli Manning and those Giants have done just absolutely terrible to start the year. Then you have the Washington Redskins at 1-3. RG3 and the Redskins were on a break for their bye this week, and maybe that has to do with the government shutdown. Don't really know about that one. They're 1-3. They won versus the Raiders a few weeks ago to get their first victory, and then Philadelphia 2-3, but still manages to lead the division with under 500 record thanks to Dallas coughing up some games late in the fourth quarter, back-to-back weeks. So hopefully the Eagles could pull out the division. I'd be stoked if they could pull it out, but I'd love to maybe see a team with a 500 or better record winning the division, and that might not be the case this year.
Well, because everybody already knows that we use sound effects. Thanks so much, Blake, for ruining it for everybody out there. Just kidding. But I now have a noise for everything that happens with Tony Romo. Let's hear it. In case you don't know what that is, that's choking. He chokes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
He chokes a lot. Even though he had a great game, once again, if it's in a situation to make it to the playoffs, or if it's just a regular game, he chokes. And now onto a different game, very notable for one stat. This snapped Tom Brady's mark for touchdowns in consecutive games as the Patriots lost by a touchdown. Tom Brady had gone 52 straight games trying to break Drew Brees' record for 54, but he was unable to do it in a weak performance, to say the least, from the Patriots. Only 6 points. Good defense from the Bengals, not allowing a touchdown. But Brady, obviously, he's not one to really worry about those stats, so he'll be fine. But for all those Patriot fans out there that wanted it, well, that sucks for you guys, because you're going to have to wait another 54 games to see that happen.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the guy, and he has lacked wide receivers, familiar wide receivers to say the least this year. I mean, it is absolutely incredible that he went, am I correct, 54 straight games throwing a touchdown pass. I mean, that is consistently, week after week, throwing touchdowns. That means your team is scoring consistently, never getting shut down. A totally incredible streak by Tom Brady, and you got to respect it. And I'm sad to see it end, but I think he could definitely continue a new one starting next week, to say the least.
Yeah, and the Chiefs. It doesn't even matter about their game, but they're 5-0. That's pretty impressive there. Back quickly. I just had to mention the Chiefs, but back to Tom Brady. Yeah, obviously, like I said, he's not worried about his individual statistics. He'll go out next week and obviously perform better than he did this week. And I guess, he does deserve an off week. Like you said, after throwing consistently touchdowns for 52 straight games, you shouldn't get hate for throwing only 197 yards when you're already one of the best in the NFL. So it's a big win there. And to the Panthers-Cardinals game, just want to quickly break down this because Cam Newton somehow throws for 308 yards and they still only score 6 points. And it's pretty disappointing. I feel bad for Cam Newton that he plays on a team that can't seem to do anything at all. And the Cardinals come out with this one. Carson Palmer leads them to win, and they have 3 wins on the year, which I think not many people expected. And that's basically all on the week. Obviously, I'm happy about the Packers winning. I'm sure our audience is too. Let's hear it, audience. See, everybody in the audience is Packers fans.
Yeah,
as well.
a little bias from the person in the control station, to say the least. Okay, Noah, gotta move on here. Give me your top 5 teams, starting with number 5, and then ending at number 1, and then also maybe some fringe teams that could be in the top 25, kind of honorable mention, based off of just 5 weeks of play. Top 5 for 5 weeks.
Okay. Well, as I said, the Seahawks are not my number 1. But we're definitely going to start with our fringe teams. And just so we know, 49ers and Patriots are my fringe teams there. So now you guys are going to be wondering, who's my top teams? So at number 5, we have the Colts. Yes, I know, very shocking. Even the audience is shocked, see? The Colts have made it into the top 5 now after defeating the Seahawks and starting off 4-1. They look quite impressive. Now, on to number 4, we have the Kansas City Chiefs. You can't put a 5-0 team not at the top. All of the teams that are 5-0 are in my top 5. So they've been very impressive. At number 3, we have the Saints. So obviously, they've been very impressive, and you guys know who the top 2 are. It's been the top 2. Right now we have Seahawks and Broncos, but the question is, who will it be? Exactly. It's suspenseful. It's very, very... Here we go. Let's see who it is. It is... Number 2 is the Seahawks. Yes.
Not surprising considering they lost.
Oh, wait. I really didn't have to even give you any suspense because I already told you the Seahawks weren't number 1. So, yeah, the Seahawks are number 2 after that defeat. And the Broncos are currently at number 1. Congratulations to the Broncos for taking over my top spot. But you guys are going to have to perform a little better than you did against the Cowboys if you want to keep that top spot. Because there are plenty of teams. The Saints want it. The Chiefs want it. The Colts want it. They're all on the rise. Maybe the 49ers will pick it up even too. And obviously the Patriots still got it. So those are my top 5.
Yeah, respect your list there. A little opposed with some of them, but definitely a pretty good list. Little surprised you didn't have a drum roll effect for that number 1 thing.
I was going to.
Maybe we'll find a drum roll.
I was going to. Let me see if it works now. No, it just doesn't. Crickets works. But no, stomping refuses to work. All the other ones work.
We'll have to figure out the kinks next time. So, just to go on with my top 5, I got to add some fringe teams. Notable that my 2 fringe teams are actually playing tonight at 5. They're starting their game right now. And that is the San Francisco 49ers and that is the Houston Texans. Both these teams have shown some signs of being very elite at times, and other times, like when the 49ers played in Seattle, got their butts kicked.
Can I say something really quickly?
Terrible. Yeah.
The Niners already scored.
Really?
Yeah. It's 9:47. Let me see how they scored, because has Colin Kaepernick touched an 18-yard interception return? So Matt Schaub once again throws another pick 6. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say as well with Houston, at times they've looked pretty good, and other times they've not. Like, they started off the game just terrible versus San Diego in their first game, then ended up pulling out the victory very impressively. They also got their victory versus Tennessee, and they looked pretty good in that one. And then they lost to Baltimore, 30-9 in Baltimore, which they absolutely looked terrible. And then losing to Seattle, at times they looked good, and at other times they did not look so good. And I'm really excited to see who wins this game tonight, as I said earlier. Okay, so with my top 5, gotta go with number 5. I would go with the Saints, who this was not updated before the final scores were released, so maybe they'll move up. But currently they're at number 5. At number 4, right now, I have the New England Patriots. So maybe that's a little flip-flopping after the results of this week. I had the Patriots at number 4. At number 3, I had the Kansas City Chiefs, who have looked really, really impressive with Andy Reid as their head football coach. Alex Smith,
Hey, wait.
conservative.
Before we do number 2, let's try to do the drum roll. Maybe it'll work for you.
Yeah, so, no. Okay, so with my number 2 and number 1, I think you can guess who they are. It's obviously the Denver Broncos, and it's obviously the Seattle Seahawks. So let's hear that drum roll, please.
Let's get it to work. Come on. No, that's all we hear.
That's just not impressive. Okay, my number 1 team is obviously the Denver Broncos, 5-0, scoring 51 points. Peyton Manning has looked like a sure lock to win the MVP after an incredible first 5 games. I mean, you look at his statistics, and they're off the charts. Never seen statistics like this other than maybe Tom Brady's year when the Patriots went undefeated in the regular season. But you look at this team, and they have scored at least 37 points or more in every single game they played so far. That is just off the charts incredible. First game, 49 points victory over Baltimore. Second game, 41 points victory over the New York Giants. Third game, 37 points over Oakland. Fourth game, 52 points versus my Eagles defense. Ouch. And then 51 points versus Dallas today. So they've scored over 50 points 2 consecutive weeks. Got to give them the number 1 spot. And then Seattle at number 2, losing to Indianapolis, but they look very, very impressive. This was played in Indy. Tough environment, especially since they also added Trent Richardson. I think the Seahawks look really, really good, but had to shuffle them down to number 2 with the loss today. So that is my top 5. And Noah, what's next?
We're going to go into a standings rundown. So really quickly, though, because I just did an update on this a second ago, the Texans marched down the field, got into San Francisco, into the red zone, and then they got a, let's see, they are now at the 27. They were pushed back, and they missed the field goal. Bullock's 45-yard field goal is no good, wide left, and the 49ers will take over the ball on their own 27 as they are up 7-0. So that's a big turnover for them, getting the ball back as they try to go up and put this game, further and further out of reach. But with that, let's go into the standings, and let's start off with the NFC East. And Blake, I'll let you do the NFC East because this is obviously your Eagles division, and yeah.
Yeah, so at number 1, we have the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles, both tied at 2-3. Not impressive to say the least. And then you have Washington and the Giants, both at 3-4. Giants look like they could be in for a disastrous season. Maybe they've already decided to tank out and try to get a draft pick to help support Eli Manning. No idea, but 0-5, and they've looked horrendous. You look at their schedule for those Giants, and it's not going to get any easier playing at Chicago next week and then playing the Minnesota Vikings, who have looked good, and then also the Philadelphia Eagles in Philly. So the schedule looks rough. I could see this team going 0-8 by the time they reach their bye in Week 9, which would be highly disappointing for those New York fans.
Yeah.
Washington, you look at their schedule. They're 1-3, coming off of their victory over Oakland, taking off a bye. And then next week they're going to play at the Cowboys. And that's going to be a very interesting game for the NFC East division to determine the standings. And I would pick the Cowboys in this one just because they look pretty good versus the Broncos. We're definitely a better team, but they definitely kind of met their match, but they look very good. Philadelphia, next week they're going to be playing at Tampa Bay. So I think my Eagles have a very good shot to win this one since Tampa Bay has looked pretty terrible. And Napoleon Dynamite's brother is the quarterback for the Bucs right now, not Josh Freeman. And yes, I'm talking about Glennon, the starting quarterback of the Buccaneers. I could see the Eagles' defense possibly getting a few interceptions. And maybe also, we did not add this note, but Michael Vick, unsurprisingly, was injured in the game today versus the New York Giants. Not surprising. You see the way that this guy plays football, and he's not in his 20s anymore. He's in his 30s, and he's just not sliding on every play. And it just frustrates me so much because he's got so much left to give. He's got so much talent and speed. But he consistently is just putting his body in danger play after play. And today Nick Foles had to lead the way for the Eagles, and he did a very good job. But me being a USC fan, I was hoping maybe Matt Barkley would get a chance to shine. But right now, Nick Foles probably going to get the start versus Tampa Bay, I would suspect, with Michael Vick injured. But we'll keep you updated on that one.
Yeah. Blake, I found a noise that suits what the NFC is like right now. Snoring.
Yeah, to say the least. It's been pretty boring. Not boring, but just terrible. Okay. So, NFC North Division, Noah, you have a lot of familiarity with this one, with your Green Bay Packers in it, and also the Chicago Bears, who are very close to your hometown, as I'm aware. Let's talk about the standings in this one. Noah, go.
Okay, so in first place, we have the Detroit Lions. Sorry about that. Sometimes we laugh on the show without meaning to. That was not a sound effect. That was real laughing. So maybe I can fake a laugh throughout the whole thing. But yeah, the Lions are currently in first at 3-2. Tied with them atop as well are the Chicago Bears at 3-2, who have now lost 2 in a row. So they're struggling right now. Green Bay at 2-2 picked up that win over Detroit, and they have played one less game than both the Tigers. Wrong team, the Lions and the Bears. There's a lot of animals in this division. Like, at the top of this division, the Lions and the Bears continue to be at the top. Though normally they're not the fiercest. Normally it is Cheese, the Packers. The Cheeseheads are the toughest. Who knew that Cheese could be so aggressive? But then, of course, you have the Vikings at the bottom. Possibly one of the worst teams in football right now. You just look ahead at Detroit. I think Detroit will drop a little bit. I think Chicago, they are a good team. I don't want to be rude to them by saying they're bad because that would just be disrespectful. But now they go and they have to play at the Giants. Ooh, no, so scary. They'll win that game. I think so. The Giants dropped to 0-6. Green Bay, if you look ahead at their schedule, they're gonna have a little bit of an easier time. They play at Baltimore, so that's not a gimme. But then they go Cleveland and Minnesota. They get Chicago on Monday Night Football. But then they get Philadelphia, New York, Minnesota, then Detroit, and then, all of that going on. But I think Green Bay is still primed to win this division. Eddie Lacy ran for 999 yards, or not 9. Oh, whoa.
I was going to say, that's a lot of yards for football, maybe for the season at Alabama last year.
Yeah. But
99 yards to be corrected.
Yeah, so he was one off of 100 yards, so we have a consistent running game now. I guess, no, we don't have a consistent running game because we never know which running back is actually going to be in the game because they all get injured. But we're running the ball averagely well. So yeah, that's going to be an interesting division, to say the least, to go down to the end. Yeah, so that's what it looks like right now in the NFC North.
Yep. Now we'll move on to the NFC South. New Orleans at 5-0. They look like they could run away with this division if Atlanta doesn't kind of catch fire pretty quickly. Atlanta and Carolina both tied at 1-3, and they both are, I believe, is it 3 games behind New Orleans already, which is absolutely crazy. And then Tampa Bay's at 0-4, and they do not look like they're going to compete at all. So New Orleans could run away with this division for sure. What do you think, Noah?
I do think New Orleans run away with this division. I think the Falcons are a lackluster, underachieving team. Carolina, they're they're Carolina. That's all I have to say. As I said, when Cam Newton throws for 308 yards and you only muster up 6 points, there's something going on. Tampa Bay, Greg Schiano's an idiot, and they'll never do well under him. So that's, as me and Jake discussed, he currently has pigeons as his messaging system in his brain. You know how most people have, like, the neurons that transmit? If there was a good analogy, we have, like, Usain Bolt running it around. He has pigeons that are currently getting lost in his brain. But he's...
Okay, let's not hate too much on Greg Schiano.
I mean,
let's move on to the NFC West.
Fine.
No. Okay, with the NFC West, Seattle, 4-1. They lost today, but they still lead their division. And then Arizona, with a victory today, moves over to 3-2. And then San Francisco is currently leading right now, and they look to improve to 3-2, make up some divisional ground. And then St. Louis is 2-3. So this division looks highly competitive, as we expected, but Arizona kind of coming out of nowhere. Carson Palmer playing pretty well to start the year. And this looks like it could maybe be a 3-team race. Not the 2-team race, which we obviously knew about preseason, but possibly a 3-team, maybe even a 4-team race. What do you think, Noah?
Okay, please, no, just St. Louis is terrible. When you actually have troubles with the Jaguars, you know you're terrible. But Arizona on that mark, they lost to St. Louis. They got killed by New Orleans. Their wins have come against Carolina, Tampa Bay. I'll give them the win against Detroit. But Carolina and Tampa Bay. Now, when you think of Carolina and Tampa Bay, you don't think of bright lights, exciting plays. You think of Greg Schiano and pigeons, and you think of Carolina, you think of Cam Newton and nobody else. But then, look, next 2 weeks they play San Francisco and Seattle, then Atlanta, then Houston. Their record will be 3-6. Just putting it that way. Then they'll play Jacksonville and pick up a win. But then I think they're going to lose to Indianapolis. I think they're going to lose to Philadelphia. I think they're going to lose to St. Louis. I think they're going to lose to Tennessee. I think they're going to lose to Seattle. And I think they're going to lose to San Francisco. I think they're going to finish with one more win.
So you think they're going to go 4-12?
Yes, I do believe they're going to go 4-12. I think that Seattle is still going to win this division despite a very difficult win against a really good Colts team.
Wow. So we'll remember that bold statement made by Noah right here at National Sports, and we're going to call you out on that one if Arizona gets more than 2 wins the rest of the regular season, Noah. So you better remember that one.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on to the AFC East. The New England Patriots lead this division with their 4-1 mark. Miami fell today, which I was a little surprised about. I expected them to get the victory over the Baltimore Ravens because the Ravens lost last week to the Buffalo Bills. So I was kind of expecting Miami to pull out this victory, and they ended up losing, which I was a little surprised about. Miami is kind of sliding off after starting off 3-0, and it's good that they have a bye week, and then they'll play at home versus Buffalo. So maybe they can get revamped, but I really expected them to have kind of a bounce-back game today, and they did not. And then we have the New York Jets at 2-2, playing, obviously, the Atlanta Falcons on Monday Night Football, and this is a big game for this team. If they could pull out the victory in Atlanta and shock the whole hometown stadium, and then they play Pittsburgh next week, this team could get on a roll really quickly if they were able to pull out the victory on Monday night. And then in last is, not surprisingly, the Buffalo Bills, who look pretty up and down to start the year. Just for time constraints, got to move on to the next division, AFC North. Baltimore leads with a 3-2 record. Cleveland also tied for that at 3-2, and then also the Cincinnati Bengals at 3-2. So we have a 3-team race so far. And then Pittsburgh just absolutely looks atrocious at 0-4. But this division looks highly, highly competitive, especially if the Browns can stick around. And then we move over to the AFC South. Indianapolis leads with their 4-1 record. Tennessee trails behind at 3-2, and Houston at 2-2, which is currently playing right now, is a half game behind the Tennessee Titans, and I believe 2 games behind the Indianapolis Colts. And then there's Jacksonville at 0-5, who could be the worst team in the NFL. Who obviously is the worst team in the NFL at 0-5. AFC West, 2 very, very good-looking teams, and the Denver Broncos and the Kansas City Chiefs, both 5-0, both undefeated, and combined a 10-0 mark. to start the year, and also the San Diego Chargers at 2-2. If they get their victory, which I expect them to, versus Oakland, you have 3 teams who could possibly compete for a playoff spot this year, and then Oakland's at 1-3. And that is the standings. But also, Noah, I hear you have some breaking news about the San Francisco-Houston game.
Yeah, and I know you'll be excited to hear it because Frank Gore is on your fantasy team, of course. Frank Gore just scored on a short run, but nonetheless, he picked up a couple of yards. It was only a 1-yard run, so you only get 6 points for it, but he ran it in for a touchdown, and the Niners distancing themselves quickly with only a minute 37 remaining in the first quarter. They're up 14-0 as they look to go to 3-2 and drop the Texans to 2-3. So they're looking good right now.
Yeah, so very exciting game. Going to keep you updated throughout the episode today. But Noah, what do you think? Commercial break?
I think so, and I have a sound that'll be sure to keep you with us.
Yeah, stick with us, everybody.
If you don't stick with us, you hate babies laughing. Yeah, I made sure that now you guys are going to stay with us. So yeah, definitely stay with us. We will be right back.
Your presentation of national sports is brought to you by Spreaker.com. Broadcast and listen to news, radio, and music with one low monthly rate. Your show will be right back after this word from your local stations. You can contact National Sports in a number of ways through Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter with the label National Sports. We love to have you guys a part of our show and can easily join us also through text or call. You're listening to the National Sports Radio Station on Spreaker.com.
No, we're running pretty long.
We're back, and that section went a little longer than planned, but obviously it is the NFL, so there's a lot to talk about. But we're gonna dive straight into our next topic to make sure we don't get too far behind on our schedule. And as many of you NBA fans know, the NBA has returned. Yeah, with David Stern obviously gone, there will be no more laughing at drafts. Instead, with Adam Silver, there'll be this. I expect that to be the kind of season. No more laughingstock David Stern. Good Adam Silver. But yes, the NBA did return, and last week we didn't do our final predictions, so we're going to make this section pretty quick, and we're going to dive straight into our final 2 divisions to predict. So far, we had the Eastern Conference. In the Eastern Conference, we had Atlantic. We predicted Central, Southeast, and in the Western, we had the Northwest. So only left is the Pacific and the Southwest. So Blake, we're going to start with you because the teams in here are all closer to you. In fact, 4 of them are in your state. We have the Lakers, the Clippers, the Suns, the Sacramento Kings, and the Golden State Warriors. So give us your prediction there.
Yeah, I'm a big Lakers fan, also like the Clippers, but more Lakers. And you got to pick one team for the city. The Lakers had a tumultuous offseason, to say the least, losing Dwight Howard and kind of, I think, losing their chances to be competitive this season. They picked up a lot of new players on their roster, but not really big-name players that could revamp this team and make them better. I think they're really positioning themselves for next year's offseason to make some big moves, possibly Carmelo Anthony or maybe even LeBron James. We'll have to see about that. But just some players that they added: Wesley Johnson, former star of Syracuse; Darius Johnson-Odom, former Marquette star. I'm sorry, I'm naming all the college teams, but Darius Johnson-Odom, last year he played for, let me get this right. Where did I put that? Oh my gosh, I believe he played for the Dallas Mavericks, but I do not have my statistics correct. Cannot find that. But Darius Johnson-Odom, and then also they added alongside Nick Young, a former USC star, who really loves the town of LA, and I think he could have a breakout year. And then they also re-signed Chris Kaman. Or not, they didn't re-sign Chris Kaman. They added Chris Kaman, a former Clipper. So a lot of familiar LA names if you're an LA sports person, but not really big names that could turn this team into a competitive playoff-worthy team. So if that's hinting at something, I do not think the Lakers will make the playoffs. But got to move on to some other teams in this Pacific Division. The Phoenix Suns, I do not expect them to do very well this year, to say the least. You look at their roster, and it's pretty horrendous, to say the least. I believe their best player is Eric Bledsoe, former Clipper. He's going to be the star of this team. And then you have Kendall Marshall. And I know, Noah, your fantasy basketball team is called Forgetting Kendall Marshall. So if that shows you, he has been pretty disappointing so far in his professional career. And then Markieff Morris and Marcus Morris, the two brothers, former Kansas Stars, are reunited on this Phoenix Suns team, but this is going to be a pretty dreadful team, so I will just stop talking about them. Sacramento Kings. I know our buddy James from National Sports is a huge Kings fan, a.k.a. Princess, as we love to call you. James, I'm going to quickly cover your Sacramento Kings, but I do not expect a very good season from them either. DeMarcus Cousins, the star of this team, has shown a lot of immaturity, but I mean, you look at this roster, and it's not exactly a playoff-worthy kind of a roster. You look at DeMarcus Cousins, Jimmer Fredette, former BYU star, coming over to the Kings. And then, I mean, a lot of no-name kind of players. Isaiah Thomas, not the Isaiah Thomas that played on the Knicks, or why am I saying the Knicks? Not the Isaiah Thomas that played on the Detroit Pistons, but the aptly named Isaiah Thomas because his dad had bet money on the Detroit Pistons, and he is a very good player. Former Washington Husky is Isaiah Thomas. Okay, I will stop talking about all the terrible teams in the Pacific Division, and I'm going to move over to the good teams who made some very good moves this offseason. And yes, I'm talking about the Golden State Warriors, who got Andre Iguodala, who is a very, very good defensive player. And I believe he could definitely spur this team into a possible top three seed, maybe number 2 or number 1 in the West. I really think this team is going to be very good. Also, you have Klay Thompson, who I think will have a breakout year. They also still have Harrison Barnes, even though they picked up Andre Iguodala, so he'll be coming off the bench. He'll be very good. Same with Draymond Green. Very, very good team I see with these Golden State Warriors. I mean, just also David Lee coming back from injury. He was out in the postseason, and this team still did very, very well. Went to 6 games versus those San Antonio Spurs who won the West. And then Steph Curry, the star of this team. Sorry, I mistake that. His brother Seth is on the Warriors. I did not realize that, and that could be a very, very interesting element, having 2 brothers who are both very good collegiate players, and obviously Steph Curry has become a star in the NBA, maybe paving the way for Seth to be a star as well. So now I will get down to what I predict in that division. I predict coming in last place, Princesses Kings. I predict this team will have a pretty terrible year, maybe around 25 to 30 victories. In 4th place, I have the Phoenix Suns, also around the 25 to 30 win mark. Not very good seasons for both these teams. And then I have the Lakers, my favorite team. I do not believe that they're going to try and compete to their full extension, and I think they will get 39 victories. Yes, they will fall under 500 this season because they want to get a good pick in the draft, but Kobe's competitiveness will kind of disallow them to get maybe a lottery pick, but they will not be a winning team. And then at number 2, I have those Clippers, who I forgot to talk about. They signed some big-name players over the offseason. And yes, I'm talking about players such as, let's start this list off. They signed Darren Collison, the former UCLA star and former Piston, who's been very good. Also, former Dallas Maverick last season. Jared Dudley, who's a sharpshooter, former Phoenix Sun. They also signed J.J. Redick, former Orlando player and former star of Duke. So this team got some very big names over the offseason, some sharpshooters who could help kind of maybe Chris Paul gets some more assists, dishing it out, and I think this Clippers team could be very good. But I believe that the Warriors will win this division, and they could possibly get a number 2 seed in that West conference, and I see the Clippers getting second place in this division, getting third place in the Western Conference overall. And that is my Pacific Division predictions. And Noah, just for time constraints, I went on way too long about the Pacific Division. And so, Noah, why don't you do the Southwest Division?
Well, really quickly, I'll just do the Pacific.
Okay.
It's easy for me. The Clippers, I definitely say, are my best team in that division. The problem I see with Golden State is when the coach is calling out the players, I think he'll have a problem when he's trying. I think they'll get confused when he's trying to say Steph or Seth Curry. I think there'll be an issue there in training camp and in practice, which one he's trying to call out. Pretty sure there'll be some mess-ups when Seth Curry accidentally gets the ball at the end of the game instead of Steph Curry. But no, seriously, I think Doc Rivers will coach the Clippers to the Pacific and now to the Southwest, of course. Let's start out with the bottom team, and that will be the... Ooh, this is tough, actually. I'm going to go with New Orleans. I think New Orleans will get better, but I still think they will be the worst. I say 30 to 35 range on losses. Overall in this division, I think it's a solid division compared to many of the other ones. I don't think there's any one team that's going really the wrong way, except for Dallas. I see Dallas dropping quickly. I think they're just going to barely beat New Orleans out. I'd say them in the 32 to 37 range victory. Third place, this is when it gets tough. I'm going to go with the Memphis Grizzlies. And it's so tough to say that because Memphis is such a quality team. They went to the Western Conference Finals last year before a difficult series against San Antonio, which they were unable to win. And now it comes down to San Antonio and Houston. And I've doubted San Antonio for so long. So in second place, I am putting the Houston Rockets. They lost their first preseason game, in case you didn't know, 116 to 115 against the New Orleans Pelicans. The first game that they played as the New Orleans Pelicans, they pulled out the win. Anthony Davis went for 21 points. Shooting guard Anthony Morrow went for 26 points. So pretty impressive there. Off the bench, Austin Rivers, Doc Rivers' son, went for 21. You have James Harden went for 21 points. Dwight Howard, 19 points in his debut. The starting lineup looked really good, actually. Everybody except for Dontas Montejunas scored double figures. Omri Caspi went for 20. Beverly went for 12. And Terrence Jones for 13. But they looked pretty good. But, of course, I put San Antonio first. I can't doubt them any longer. So that's my prediction. And then, really quickly, before we go to MLB, I know I have some good news for everybody in the crowd. Derrick Rose finally played his first game back. It's a very sentimental moment for me, and I appreciate your clapping. Really helps boost my morale, and I'm sure it helps boost Derrick's morale, too. Finally gets back on the court.
Yeah, good job with those Southwest predictions. You look at that division, and it's very, very stacked, to say the least. Quickly, I got to agree with you on the fact that I think the San Antonio Spurs will win the division because Houston is kind of in a not a rebuilding year, but they have these superstars, and you've kind of seen with the Miami Heat their first year, they were kind of struggling a bit. I see Houston getting in second in the Southwest, but also having a very good season. And then the third, I have the Memphis Grizzlies, who play great defense and are consistently a playoff team. Fourth, I see the New Orleans Pelicans. They have some young players and can be very competitive. And then Dallas, I see as being the fifth team because Mark Cuban has just shown that he has had terrible luck in the offseason. No luck with Dwight Howard. No luck with Darren Williams 2 years ago. And he has just shot Dirk Nowitzki in the foot, who is kind of his prime is now over. And I see this Mavericks team, unfortunately, doing pretty bad this season, which is unfortunate considering Dirk looked so good a few years ago when he won that title. So that is NBA, and now we're going to move over to baseball, which we had some very, very exciting postseason matchups. Noah, what have you got for us in baseball?
Okay, so we are quickly going to go through the results, every result so far, because obviously we haven't done it. In the wild card games, Pittsburgh beat Cincinnati to advance. Tampa Bay over Cleveland. They shut them out 4-0. Now to the National League. The first games were on Thursday, October 4th. St. Louis defeats Pittsburgh 9-1. The Dodgers beat Atlanta 6-1. In the American League, Boston won 12-2, Detroit 3-2. Then Pittsburgh beat St. Louis to tie it up at 7-1, at 1-1 in a 7-1 victory. Atlanta defeated the Dodgers to tie it at 1-1. Boston looking very dominant. Another big win, 7-4 over Tampa Bay. Oakland shut out Detroit 1-0 in a pitcher battle. And earlier today, Pittsburgh went up 2-1 over St. Louis as they look to upset them. They won 5-3 and now lead the series 2-1. And, of course, because it's nighttime and it's the playoffs, there's always a game going on. And right now, I know you'll be happy to hear this, the Dodgers lead the Braves 4-2. So after going down 2-0 in the first inning, they came back 4-2. But Ryu is in a tough situation currently. No outs, bases loaded, so that's going to be tough right there.
Yeah, just to add on to that, very, very exciting start of the postseason, and I'm excited to see how it goes from here on out, but we saw a walk-off game last night with the Oakland A's pulling out the victory over the Detroit Tigers. Then we've seen the Red Sox offense just explode. We've seen a back-and-forth series between both St. Louis and Pittsburgh, and then we've seen a very exciting series between the Braves and Dodgers so far, who are playing right now. So just to start, we'll talk about the Detroit-Oakland series, which is tied at 1-1, heading over to Detroit tomorrow. We look at that game, and it's going to be a pitching matchup between, I believe it is Jared Parker. Let me check that out. Yeah, Jared Parker, who went 12-8 in the regular season with a 3.97 ERA. He'll be pitching for Oakland. And then on Detroit's side, Anibal Sanchez will be pitching for the Detroit Tigers, a 14-8 record in the regular season with an impressive 2.57 earned run average. And I believe that with Detroit pulling out the victory in Game 1, led by Max Scherzer, even though they lost Game 2, I really see this team taking both games at Comerica Park in Detroit and going on to win the series in 4 games. So that's my prediction for that series. What do you think about the Detroit Tigers Oakland A's series, Noah?
Anibal Sanchez should have started Game 2. He was better than Justin Verlander. Justin Verlander is not better than Anibal Sanchez. He just started because he's Justin Verlander. The Detroit Tigers will win this game. They will win this series. So that's good news for them. I don't know how far they'll go, but I like the A's. I don't wanna hurt all the A's fans' feelings out there, but I just think that the Detroit Tigers have more experience in these situations, and I see them barely sneaking out of this one.
Yeah, and I do not agree with you with that point about Justin Verlander. He has consistently shown that he is a big game pitcher, and he pitched really, really well last night. He didn't give up the run in the 9th inning. That went over to one of the Tigers relievers. So he pitched, I believe it was 8 scoreless innings. So proving again that he's a dominant postseason pitcher. He deserved that Game 2 start, and he pitched just like he deserved it. Okay, so got to move over to the series that's been very, very exciting. And I'm talking about the Pittsburgh Pirates and the St. Louis Cardinals. And recently today, the Cardinals edged out not the Cardinals. Gosh, my voice is just getting all slurred. The Pirates edged out the Cardinals to take a 2-1 series lead. And this was a very, very exciting game. 5-3 victory by Pittsburgh. And you look at this game, and I did not get to watch it personally, so I'm going to give it over to Noah, who had some good kind of analysis of the game. So Noah, what did you think of this victory by the Pirates to take this 2-1 series advantage?
I've always liked the Pirates a lot. I thought they were going to win the NL Central, but they didn't. But here's their chance to get revenge on the Cardinals. They're up 2-1. They need one more game. One more game, and they win this series. And, of course, they're playing at home for Game 4. So this definitely is a great shot for them to end up as, of course, the first ALDS champion to win a series. NLCS. Same, not same thing, but said both DS. They both have DS in there. But talking about that very quickly, it will be between, I believe, Wacha will pitch for, that's a great name, Wacha, will pitch for St. Louis, and Morton will pitch for
like
the Pirates.
Watcha.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a great last name. But Pittsburgh managed to pull it out, and I see them pulling this series out. I think they're going to win the next game and face the winner of the Dodgers Atlanta Braves series, which of course is going on right now. And just to update you on it, the Braves have scored to make it 4-3.
Yeah, exciting game over there, and we'll be sure to talk about it. But the next thing we're going to talk about is the Boston Red Sox Tampa Bay Rays series. They're going to be heading over to Game 3 tomorrow in Tampa Bay. It's going to be a pretty outstanding pitching matchup for a Game 3, and I'm talking about Clay Buchholz, who had an incredible regular season, but he was out most of the second half. You look at his record, and you would think Cy Young, but he did not have an eligible amount of starts to kind of be considered for the Cy Young. He finished 12-1, and his earned run average was 1.74. So he pitched very, very well when he was actually pitching for the Red Sox. And then he's going against Alex Cobb, who finished 11-3 with a 2.7 earned run average for the Rays. So very impressive pitching matchup for a Game 3. Boston's offense has just been absolutely on fire through the first two games in this series, both taking place in Boston. And in both games, they only got to bat in the first 8 innings because they ended up not batting in the ninth due to clinching the game with saves. So they've only gone up to bat in 16 innings, but in those 16 innings, the Red Sox have scored 21 runs. I mean, absolutely incredible numbers considering they were going up against David Price and who was the Rays pitcher in Game 1? Let me get that right. Matt Moore, who had a very good regular season. So the Red Sox offense is just off the charts, top to bottom. They've just waited on their hitting to get them through these tough postseason games, but they've looked very, very good so far, and I do see the Red Sox pulling out this game tomorrow in Game 3. A little biased, but you look at Clay Buchholz, and honestly, if he had played the whole regular season, I believe he should have won the Cy Young Award over Max Scherzer. I think he could have gone for 20 victories, and I think he will prove it tomorrow in the postseason versus the Tampa Bay Rays at the Trop. I see the Red Sox completing the sweep of the Rays. And then, Noah, let's talk Dodgers-Braves, which is currently going on right now.
Okay, so yes, Dodgers-Braves. It's a tough series, and it's been a slugfest, back and forth. Right now, we're in the top of the third, obviously. Let me quickly update you on what's going on. As I said right before, it was 4-3. They did get the first out, though, so that's good. Currently a man on first and second, but Atlanta just scored on a fielder's choice. That was the first out. Sorry about that. So it's 4-4. This is a great game. It's definitely going to go down to the wire. But I'm going to stick with my gut and say the Dodgers are going to win this series. And quickly on Clay Buchholz, had he pitched the whole year, he would have, I think, been a better pitcher than Clayton Kershaw. Yeah, no, just one random. There we go.
Didn't like my Red Sox. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
But
did you hear that shock noise? The crowd was shocked that I even said that. But Clay Buchholz, very, very impressive. A 1.74 ERA in the time he pitched. How can you go against that? I like Alex Cobb. He was very good. But how can you bet against that?
Yeah. I mean, that's why I believe they can pull out the victory, especially with how good their offense has been, despite them playing on the road. But they were just as good as at road as at home this season. So I really do see the Red Sox pulling out this victory. But let's get back on track, talking about the Braves and Dodgers. Game 1, the Dodgers looked really, really strong. Clayton Kershaw, a lot of people expected the Dodgers to win this game, and they ended up doing so. Yasiel Puig had a very good first game in the postseason, and also some clutch hitting, a home run by Adrian Gonzalez. And the Dodgers won that game to take the 1-0 lead. And then in Game 2, it got interesting. Zach Greinke pitched. I mean, he pitched pretty good for the most part, but not as good as most would expect from him, considering the regular season that he had with a 15-4 record. And the Dodgers ended up losing 4-3 to the Braves. And this was a really, really controversial end to the game, in which Dee Gordon was thrown out. I believe it was. I personally thought that the umpire got the call wrong, but he was thrown out trying to catch a trying to steal a base, and that was in the ninth, and the Dodgers ended up kind of flaring. Yasiel Puig ended up striking out in the eighth inning, so they kind of blew some chances to take the victory, and the Braves pulled out Game 2. And right now, Game 3 is very, very exciting. Tied 4-4 at Chavez Ravine. I'm sure it's very sold out right now, and the Dodgers fans are probably really, really pumped up for their team. But I'm a little surprised by how poorly Ryu has pitched so far for the Dodgers, and we'll have to see what happens in that one. But I still think the Dodgers will win this series.
Yeah, really quickly, I forgot to mention this at the beginning of the show. As you guys know, we just got our page up, and it really helped, to say the least, in expanding our show, as we went for 158 plays in our last show. That is pretty impressive. That's the 13th most on national sports ever. Clearly our best by 50, and it pushed us all the way up to, I believe, about 820 views. So we're making that push for 1,000. So thank you so much on that last one. And if you enjoy the show, which I'm pretty sure you do, tell your friends to play it. So yeah, that's what I had to say really quickly. And yeah, that should wrap up our segment, right, Blake?
Yeah, we're going to wrap it up. Let's go on a commercial break here, and just a shout out to our fans, and stick with us throughout this episode. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thanks so much. Stick right here.
America's pastime of baseball is changing as we know it into a sport we've never seen before. Where is the game headed in the next few years? Major League correspondent Cameron Sadeghi has the answer to that question next on the national sports radio station from Los Angeles, California.
And we're back for our final segment of the show. I'm Noah Tabora, here with Blake Devine, also here with our newly found fake crowd. Yeah, our newly found animatronic crowd. See, we have so many fake followers. Well, we have real.
So excited to be here.
Exactly. They're so happy to be listening to the show, as should everybody actually listening to the show. Definitely be excited. But back to actually like sports and not just ridiculous stuff. Really quickly, the Braves and the Dodgers. The Dodgers got out of the jam. They ended up 4-4, so they managed to escape despite having those two people on base. And, of course, the Niners and the Texans. 6:48 remaining in the second quarter. It is still 14-0. And Colin Kaepernick is driving the 49ers down. He's thrown for 45 yards. He's also rushed pretty well. Frank Gore just ran for 16 yards, and they're currently on first and goal at the Houston 2. Kaepernick has thrown, obviously, as I said, for 45 yards, and he's ran for 14. Gore ran for 45 and a touchdown. I'll tell you if they are able to score. But now that we've done those updates, Blake, I believe it's time for college football.
Yeah. Another very exciting weekend of college football, and this was week 6. We had a lot of ranked teams playing, and I'll just start off with a very surprising result. The Florida State Seminoles defeated the Maryland Terps 63-0, and this was, I believe it was the worst loss ever attained by a top 25 team in the history of college football. So they lost by 63 points as a ranked opponent. And I mean, I'm surprised by how much Florida State won. I'm not surprised that they won the game. But it just shows how good Florida State is. And Jameis Winston, another outstanding effort for him, bolstering his possible Heisman campaign, 393 yards total and 5 total touchdowns. So very, very good numbers for him. And Florida State moves on, and they're going to take a bye this next week and then play at Clemson in Death Valley, which College Game Day will definitely be there. And we've been talking about this game for a while now, and I cannot wait for it. And it's going to be quite the game if Clemson can win, which they did this week. They ended up defeating Syracuse, who was playing their first game in the ACC at home. They got their butts kicked, 49-14. Taj Boyd also bolstering his Heisman campaign. And Clemson is going to play next week at home versus Boston College. They will win that game for sure, guaranteed. And it will set up a showdown between Florida State and Clemson, which will be a definite game to remember for this season. Other notable scores: UCLA, the 12th ranked team, defeated the Utah Utes 34-27 on a Thursday night game. This was a game in which Brett Hundley and UCLA held on for the victory in what was not their best effort. Alabama won 45-3 over Georgia State in an incredible touchdown grab by one of the receivers. I've got to pull up his name right here. Who was it? Jeez. Noah, I'm going to call you out on that one. Try to find out who made that spectacular grab, which I saw on the SportsCenter Top 10 last night. An incredible touchdown grab. Be sure to figure that out once Noah announces who that actually was.
I think I think I'm gonna get it. Was it? It wasn't. It wasn't Jelson Fowler. I think it was DeAndre White. I think it was
one-handed grab in the end zone in the left-hand corner.
Let me watch the highlight to make sure it was him. Let's see this if the highlight ever loads. And then of course there'll be an ad. This one's for Applebee's, guys. It's with Boomer, obviously talking about it. It's the one where he says he could get out of the way, in case you haven't seen that one. Yeah, very entertaining. Ooh, honey, pepper, and shrimp. 2 for $20. Go to Applebee's, guys.
Yeah, they're our sponsor, and be sure to go to Applebee's if you have one near your hometown.
Yeah.
Very good.
Now they're saying that it's sponsored by Applebee's again, so are they ever... Here we go. Yes. The highlight... Oh, no, now they decided to show the whole highlight of the whole game. Here we go. Is this the play? No, it wasn't that one. Why? Why can't they just... This isn't... I'm sorry, guys, for this delay of telling you, making sure, but they just refuse to do it. Now they're showing the running play for a touchdown from Yeldon. So Blake, go on with what you're doing. Oh, wait, no.
Yeah,
wait.
Okay.
Here it is. Ooh, what a catch. It was DeAndre White, by the way. I was right. Okay, White right. There we go.
Be sure to look that one up, everybody, on YouTube. DeAndre White, spectacular grab. Could go down as one of the best receptions of the year and maybe the top play of this college football season so far. Other notable scores, Oregon defeated Colorado 57-16, not surprising there. Georgia barely pulled out a victory over Tennessee in Knoxville. A lot of injuries sustained to some of their key players, and they won 34-31 in overtime. But also, I mean, this game was kind of, by the end, we had some, I don't know, I mean, they lost their running back Keith Marshall, and he was injured, his right knee, and he was carted off the field in the first quarter. So this kind of, despite the victory, this team is hurting with injuries, and you obviously can tell when you play so many ranked teams in the first month of the season, you're going to get some injuries because they played a lot of tough battles, but they're coming out with a 4-1 record, and they're 3-0 in the SEC with their victory. Also, Teddy Bridgewater in Louisville defeated Temple to move to 5-0 on the season with a 30-7 victory. LSU defeated Mississippi State 59-26 in Starkville, Mississippi to improve to 5-1 on the year. Oklahoma defeated TCU to improve to 5-0 as well with a 20-7 victory. South Carolina defeated Kentucky 35-28. Miami defeated Georgia Tech 45-30, and Miami is 5-0 on the year. Surprising, considering this team has had some self-discipline sanctions, but they're still playing very good football. Also, a very notable game, Arizona State and Notre Dame played in Arlington, Texas, the annual Irish traveling series. The Irish defeated the Arizona State Sun Devils 37-34 in a very high-scoring affair. And Tommy Rees and the Irish knocked off the 22nd ranked Arizona State Sun Devils. Also, gotta mention the Washington Stanford game. Stanford barely pulled out the victory, 31-28. Keith Price threw for about 398 yards passing, and he looked very, very good, and so did the whole Washington's team, but Stanford barely got by, and they're definitely looking forward to a showdown possibly with Oregon and in a few weeks. Or no, that would be on November 7th, but that could be a very, very good game if both these teams are undefeated by the time that goes around. But Washington will play at home versus Oregon. That is an upset alert game for next week. Be sure to listen to me on that one. Upset alert, everybody in Eugene. Washington will be ready to play you. They've almost defeated Stanford in Palo Alto, so be sure to be paid attention to that. And Noah, you can talk about the Ohio State Northwestern game, which you were at. College Game Day was there. I know Noah was at College Game Day, and also he attended the game. Noah, break this down for us.
Okay, so let's start with this. The game started off very slow for Ohio State. They kept getting down the field and had to settle for multiple field goals. Their only the only touchdown in the first half wasn't offensive. It was a blocked punt in the end zone. So they scored on that one, but Northwestern looked very good. For all those people saying, oh, will they struggle against Northwestern? Hey, Northwestern is the real deal. The hype is real. They're a good team. They are well coached. They play well, and they're difficult to play against, especially having a 2-quarterback tandem that really, with Kane Coulter running the ball and Simeon throwing it, it's just very difficult. And then once Ohio State realized, oh wait, Braxton Miller isn't doing well, and gave it to Carlos Hyde, it was pretty impressive. Ohio State, big win there as they make their quest towards the Rose Bowl, where I expect them to be playing either Stanford, or if Washington can somehow do it and Stanford ends up losing more games than them, possibly Washington.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, that was a 40-30 victory. A big victory for Ohio State on the road versus Northwestern. So quickly, we have to go to our next part of the show because we're running a little late on time. So we're going to go with our Heisman. Noah always does this. Noah, give me your top 5 players so far in the Heisman rankings, in your opinion.
Okay, so this is it was a good week for those Heisman candidates. And just really quickly before I say my rankings, definitely the most impressive this week was Jameis Winston. So let's see where he comes in on these rankings currently. So sitting at number 5, it's tough for me. I'm going to put Taj Boyd at number 5 here. Taj Boyd, an excellent quarterback, but I'm going to put him at number 5. Actually, no, I'm not even going to put Taj Boyd on the list. No,
Wow.
There we go. Surprise. Aaron Murray at 5. Aaron Murray sits at 5. Yeah, Aaron Murray broke the SEC all-time career passing yardage record, and is getting close to the touchdown mark. In number 4, this is where Jameis Winston pops up. He's going to be at number 4. He's been phenomenal, to say the least. I know you're very satisfied with his performances, Blake. Just been amazing there. At number 3, I'm putting Teddy Bridgewater. Just phenomenal this week against Temple. Not as many touchdowns as he usually has, but still really good week, to say the least. At number 2, Johnny Manziel. Johnny Football is still playing very well, and as it's been for the past 2 weeks, Marcus Mariota sits atop my list. Very good game against Colorado, throwing for 355 yards and 5 touchdowns, while also rushing for 43 yards and 2 touchdowns. So an excellent performance there.
Yeah, I like your Heisman rankings so far, and it's going to be highly competitive throughout the season, and I'm excited to see who gets selected to go to New York to go to that Heisman ceremony. But very good job there, Noah. And now we're going to move over to the recently released AP Top 25 rankings. The teams that dropped from the rankings included Arizona State, who was defeated by Notre Dame, Ole Miss, who was defeated by, I believe...
Auburn.
Auburn, there we go. Auburn. I expected them to win that game, considering they lost to Alabama the week before, and Auburn's pretty close to Alabama. It was on the road, but they failed to win that game. And then Maryland, who was just atrociously slaughtered by Florida State, 63-0. Just a disgrace to be a top 25 team and lose by that many points. They're out of the rankings. No surprise there. Going to run down the top 10 really quickly. At number 10, we have LSU, who's 5-1 on the year. Texas A&M, also a one-loss team at number 9. Louisville, kind of slipping, considering they've kind of been around the 5, 6, 7 ranking. Now they're at number 8. Georgia at number 7, no surprises there. A very good one-loss team, arguably the best one-loss team so far. Florida State, undefeated, number 6, and they moved up in the rankings with their trouncing of Maryland. Number 5, Stanford, who got a very good victory over Washington. Kind of expected them to move up, but you look at the list, Ohio State got a very good road victory. They're at number 4. Clemson has been very consistent throughout. Number 3, Oregon at number 2, no doubt about that. They have been the number 2, maybe even the number 1 team, but you can't unseat Alabama until they lose, which I don't know if they will. Alabama getting 55 out of the 60 first place votes. And that is your top 10. And just some new teams that also got added. Oh, man. I'm having a tough time finding that right now. But just some notable names. Fresno State at number 21. Northern Illinois, who's had a 5-0 start to the regular season after being in the Orange Bowl last year. They're at number 23. Virginia Tech sneaking at number 24. Missouri also at number 25, undefeated on the year. And then Baylor at number 15, a little surprising considering that they've had such an easy schedule to start the year. So that is your AP Top 25, everybody.
Yeah. So that's a good ranking there. I like it. Me and Jake predicted that, actually, by the way. We predicted that Florida State would jump up to 6th. So congratulations to me and Jake. Thank you, Noah. Thank you for congratulating yourself. But, yeah, so we predicted that. And, with that, that's going to end our college football section as we move closer and closer to the end of the show. Yes, I know it's sad. I know you guys want to keep listening to our stuff. You know, the show is obviously great. And I'm going to try to just really quickly pull up our Say What section, obviously very quickly. Before that, I just like to talk on the top 25 before I do pull it up. And I think that Ohio State is better than Clemson. Just going to quickly put that out there. I think they will be by the end of the year. And I had to say this. I think Florida State is going to upset Clemson. I think they're going to defeat Clemson in a big one. I think Jameis Winston is going to have a great game. So you heard it first from me. Just like you heard Jameis Winston first from our inaugural episode where we actually said that Jameis Winston, me and Blake, said that he was going to be a very good player. So I'm good with Jameis Winston. Yeah, so I definitely know what I'm talking about when it comes to that. And now on to Say What. Let's get the graphic.
Say what?
Yeah, there we go.
Say
almost get.
what?
That's Stewie.
Say what?
I've heard enough Say What, but it's time for the Say What.
Yeah, I had it.
Here's the recently released story that is our Say What segment of the week.
Well, because there weren't many great stories, I decided to go to Sports Pickle, which always has the most ridiculous stories. And we're going to start with a flow chart, Blake, and I'm going to ask you these questions right here. It's who should you root for in the 2013 MLB playoffs? So we're going to start with the first question. Blake, are you a douchebag?
No.
No. Do you like to be alone or with lots of people?
I like to be with lots of people.
Do you like baseball movies?
Yes.
Which movie do you prefer, Moneyball or Rookie of the Year?
Moneyball.
Okay. You should root for the Oakland A's.
Yeah, no surprise there. I really did like Moneyball, and a little bit of me wants to root for the A's, but if they played the Red Sox in the ALCS, I just could not muster up rooting for them at all. But I really do like the A's. I'm not really sure who I'm cheering for in their series right now, but I know it's an exciting series.
Here's the thing, Blake. The two teams you're rooting for the most, Dodgers and Red Sox, unfortunately, they fall under the yes in the are you a douchebag question. So, yeah. If you were a beach bro, obviously you're going with the Dodgers. If you are a frat bro, you're going with the Red Sox. But that is our first one. That's an interesting one there. Now on to NFL player brain diagram. So this is obviously because of all the concussions. And so it says here, NFL player brain diagram, brought to you by the best brain scientists in the world, NFL sanctioned brain scientists. So obviously the NFL always tries to avoid it. So it says, brain is not totally not the color of a bruise. Maybe Cowboy Star, cool. There's Pepsi and Papa John's, lots of different things. So nothing anywhere referring to bad things. And then we're going to go to the last article, I believe. And yeah, this will be our last article on the day. And it's the Jacksonville Jaguars, and this is fake, by the way, are now selling gear for the low, low price of $0. Will it sell? No. It still won't sell. And it also says the outfit is still worth more than Blaine Gabbert. So taking a couple of jabs at Blaine Gabbert. But yeah, that's our Say What. And before we go into our shout-outs, we have, as always, our sports birthdays really quickly here. In baseball, Joel Hanrahan. We also have Ruben Sierra, Gary Gentry. And yeah, that does it there. In basketball, Tommy Curran's birthday. Football, we have Richard Seymour. We have J.J. Stokes, Bubba Paris, Tony Dungy, the former coach of the Colts. And we have Danny Briere in hockey. And in soccer, nothing going on. So that basically does it. And yeah, so now, Blake, you do your shout-outs.
Yeah, I got to give a shout-out to my family, obviously. Mom, Dad, Bradley, Bridget. Got a shout-out to all of them, and thank you for just supporting me and being a great family. Also, sports shout-outs. Shout-outs to my Red Sox and my Dodgers, who are playing right now. Hopefully, they can both continue to play well in the postseason and make the AL and NLCS, respectively. Also, shout-out to my new USC head football coach, and yes, I'm talking about Ed Oregon, who I always mispronounce his name for some weird reason, but I believe that he could possibly turn this team around and maybe have kind of a positive note to end the year on when they will get a new head football coach. Not sure who that will be yet, but shout out to my USC Trojans. Hopefully they can get it turned around. Hopefully Marquise Lee's injury is not too bad either. And then also a shout out to the woman who streaked on the course at the President's Cup in golf today. And usually you see streakers, but not female streakers. And I got to give a shout out to her. Not sure what you're thinking, but shout out for just going for it. And yeah, so those are my shout outs for this week.
Okay, so my shout outs now. Shout out to the Ohio State Buckeyes, of course, for pulling out that big victory over Northwestern. Shout out to all of my family, my parents, cousins, all of that. And I have an announcement. Tomorrow I will be doing my inaugural basketball show, and I finally figured out a name for it. It's Full Court Press. Had to figure out some kind of basketball kind of name, but I will be starting my basketball show, so be sure to tune in for that. All of the in-depth news. Of course, tune in for College Football Preview Show, which this will be Week 7, and of course, Football Weekly on soccer. And with that, that's going to do it. Can we please get one more applause from our crowd? And let's pick it up a notch. Let's see how much you guys enjoyed this show. I don't think that was enough. Can we get a little more than that?
Come on, guys.
I'll take it. That was
consistent. It's about the same sound level each time.
Let's try to get it one more time. Let's see if this is better. No, they just refuse to do it more. Fine. I know that at least you guys love us, right? Yeah, they definitely love the show. But yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in. It's been a great show. I know you enjoyed it, and tune back in next week as we probably will be within that 1,000 range, getting very close, as we are probably by the end of the show. Hopefully we'll get to the hundreds again this episode. So yeah, tune in next week.
Yeah, thank you guys all. Have a great night, and be sure to check us out on Spreaker.com under National Sports. Also, we have our Facebook page. Just be sure to check out our episode, and thank you so much for listening, and take care, everybody.
See you later.